Welcome to Capital Connection. I'm Mark Maxwell. For the first time in more than a generation, state workers in Illinois and around the country are free to leave their unions and take their dues with them. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled 5-4 Wednesday against public sector unions, marking the beginning of the end of collective bargaining as we know it.
This is going to give the individual worker the freedom to make their own choice now, where previously they were coerced and forced to pay.
I actually initiated this lawsuit as governor. I also sued AFSCME. It was my suit that ultimately Mark Janus joined.
The big question hovering over this state house and 22 others, what happens next? Those union dues work out to roughly $900 a year for the average state worker in Illinois. It could be a tempting incentive for cash-strapped employees to take the money and run. For other committed members, the ruling invigorated them for a political fight that's still ahead.
We were preparing for the worst case scenario, and unfortunately that happened. If we sit back and think that this was that people like Bruce Rauner and the people that supported this case are going to just sit back and pop champagne and celebrate, we're wrong.
Governor Bruce Rauner, who kick-started this fight, argues that because taxpayers foot the bill for government union contracts, they are by definition a political operation.
Government unions, what the Supreme Court ruled, I think correctly, is that all their activity, advocating, negotiating, pushing policy, everything they do is political at its nature.
Well, collective bargaining is not political. It's just giving working people a fair chance to sit down across the table from management to get a fair wage.
Mark Janus and the Liberty Justice Center also convinced the High Court that this current arrangement, the old arrangement rather, was a violation of free speech and the right of association. AFSCME has endorsed Governor Rauner's rival Democrat J.B. Pritzker in the November election. Rauner says this ends what he considers legal corruption, where union bosses will lavish Democrats with campaign cash. In return, those elected officials give the unions lucrative contracts.
It is also an historic victory for taxpayers who for too long have borne the unfair, excessive cost inherent in the conflict of interest between government union leaders and politicians who they both negotiate with, but as well support through their advocacy and political work.
If this is what he's going to run on for the next 4 or 5 months, he's going to lose.
Justice Elena Kagan, an Obama appointee, wrote the dissenting opinion saying the law of the land for more than 40 years struck a, quote, stable balance between free speech and fair share dues. This landmark ruling could impact as many as 5 million employees nationwide, including Democratic strongholds like California and New York. Top Senate Democrat in New York, Chuck Schumer, predicted the ruling will have a domino effect on the middle class.
This is an awful decision. It's going to increase polarization, economic polarization in this country. It's going to make it harder for middle-class people to earn a decent living.
And when we come back, what the other major news from the Supreme Court means for the future of abortion. We talk to the Republican running to be the state's top lawyer next.